You wake up in the Stone Age. No alarm clock, no bed, no coffee, no bathroom mirror where you can stare at yourself and question every decision that led to this morning. Just cold air, smoke from last night's fire, dirt under your body, and the very real possibility that something nearby wants to eat you. But today, that is not your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is your tooth. One tooth. One tiny piece of bone-like material in your mouth has decided to become the center of the universe. It hurts when you chew. It hurts when you touch it. It hurts when cold air hits it. It hurts when you do nothing at all. And now you have a serious problem, because you are a prehistoric human. There is no dentist. There is no toothbrush. There is no toothpaste. There is no dental floss. There is no X-ray machine, no waiting room, no tiny sink where you awkwardly rinse your mouth, and no person in a mask saying, "You may feel a little pressure," right before ruining your entire day. There is only you, your painful tooth, and a world that does not care. So what do? Do you ignore it? Do you chew on the other side forever? Do you ask someone in your group to hit the tooth with a rock and hope for the best? Do you just accept that this is your life now? This sounds funny from a modern point of view, but for prehistoric humans, teeth were not small cosmetic details. Teeth were survival tools. You used them every day. You needed them to chew meat, plants, roots, seeds, nuts, tough fibers, and whatever else your group managed to find. You needed them when food was hard, dry, gritty, burned, raw, or filled with tiny particles from stone tools and dirt. And sometimes, teeth were used for more than eating. Prehistoric people may have used their mouths almost like a third hand, holding materials, pulling fibers, softening animal hide, working with plant strands, biting, gripping, tearing, and processing things that modern people would use scissors, knives, or machines for. So a damaged tooth was not just uncomfortable, it could change how you ate. It could change how you worked. It could change how useful you were to the group. And if infection got involved, it could become dangerous. That is what makes this question so interesting. How did prehistoric humans survive without dentists? Because they clearly did survive. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans and human relatives lived with teeth, pain, broken enamel, worn-down molars, infections, missing teeth, and no modern dental care at all. No clinic, no clean instruments, no anesthesia, no antibiotics, no one telling you to come back in 6 months for a routine cleaning. And yet, their teeth are one of the best things archaeologists can study today. Bones break, wood rots, skin disappears, clothing vanishes, but teeth remain. They are hard. They survive in the ground. They carry scratches, wear patterns, cavities, plaque, calculus, damage, and sometimes tiny clues about what a person ate, how they lived, and what happened inside their mouth. In a strange way, prehistoric teeth are like tiny biographies. They can tell us if someone ate rough food, if they used their mouth as a tool, if their diet changed, if they had infection, if they lived long enough for teeth to wear down badly. And sometimes, they can even show signs that people were trying to relieve pain. So the story of prehistoric dentistry does not begin with a dentist. It begins with damage, with chewing, with grit, with plants, with meat, with stone tools, with people trying to survive in a world where every meal could leave a mark. And here's the surprising part. Prehistoric humans did not necessarily have the same dental problems we have today. Modern people often think of cavities first. Sugar, soda, candy, soft bread, snacks, and that one mysterious sticky thing that somehow survives brushing. But prehistoric humans lived with a different mouth environment. Their diets were different. Their food was rougher. Their teeth often wore down faster. Their jaws worked harder. Their mouths faced less processed sugar, but much more physical stress. So the real question is not simply, did they brush their teeth? The better question is, what was destroying their teeth in the first place? Because before we can understand how prehistoric humans cleaned their mouths, treated pain, or dealt with broken teeth, we have to understand what their teeth were fighting against every single day. And the answer is not just bacteria. It is food. It is grit. It is work. It is survival. And sometimes, it is the simple fact that in the Stone Age, your teeth were tools you could never put down. So what was actually destroying prehistoric teeth? Because the easy answer is cavities. That is what modern people think of first. A black spot, a dentist drill, too much sugar, too much soda, too many snacks that somehow manage to glue themselves to your molars like they signed a rental agreement. But for most prehistoric humans, the problem was different. They did not live in a world full of candy, soft bread, processed flour, sweet drinks, and food available every 10 minutes. Their mouths were not constantly being attacked by modern sugar. That does not mean their teeth were perfect. It means their teeth were fighting a different war. The first enemy was wear. Prehistoric food was often tough, fibrous, dry, gritty, or only partly cooked. Meat could be chewy. Roots could be hard. Seeds and nuts needed serious crushing. Wild plants were not designed to be convenient. They were not sitting there politely waiting to become a smoothie. Every meal required work. Your jaw worked. Your teeth worked. Your enamel worked. And over years, that work left marks. Archaeologists can see this on ancient teeth. The chewing surfaces are often worn down. Sometimes the enamel is flattened. Sometimes the teeth are scratched and polished from years of grinding food. This kind of wear was not always disease. It was use. A prehistoric tooth was not just sitting in the mouth looking pretty. It was a tool being used every single day. And then there was grit. This is one of the most important details. Prehistoric people did not eat in clean, modern kitchens. Food could pick up sand, dust, ash, dirt, tiny stone particles, and bits of plant material. If people were grinding seeds or grains with stone tools, small mineral particles could end up in the food. And teeth hate that. Imagine chewing bread with a little sand in it. Now imagine doing that not once, but for years. That tiny grit acts like sandpaper. It scrapes the teeth. It wears the enamel. It makes chewing surfaces flatter and thinner. It turns every meal into a slow dental experiment that nobody agreed to join. So even without candy, teeth could suffer. Not because prehistoric humans were eating worse food, but because they were eating rougher food. This is why healthy natural diet does not automatically mean perfect teeth. A wild diet can be nutritious and still physically brutal. Another problem was using the mouth as a tool. Modern people open packages with scissors, cut rope with knives, soften leather with machines, and hold materials with clamps. Prehistoric people did not have that luxury. The mouth was useful. You could hold fibers between your teeth. You could pull plant strands. You could grip animal hide. You could bite, tear, soften, twist, and process materials. That kind of behavior leaves patterns too. Some ancient teeth show unusual wear that may come from repeated non-food use. The teeth were not just part of eating. They were part of making things, and that meant more damage. Then there were cracks and breaks, a hard seed, a piece of bone, a stone fragment hidden in food, a tough bite at the wrong angle. One bad moment could chip a tooth. And once a tooth cracked, life did not pause so you could book an appointment. The person still had to eat, still had to chew, still had to survive. A broken tooth could become painful. A worn tooth could expose sensitive inner layers. A damaged tooth could become infected. An infection was the part that could become truly dangerous. Because tooth pain is not always just pain. Sometimes it is a sign that bacteria have reached deeper into the tooth or surrounding tissue. Without antibiotics, without clean dental tools, without modern surgery, an infection could spread. That is where a small tooth problem could become a serious survival problem. But what about cavities? Prehistoric humans did get cavities sometimes. They were not magically immune. Bacteria have lived in human mouths for a very long time. Plaque existed, calculus existed, oral disease existed. Teeth were never living in a perfectly clean environment. But cavities were not always the main dental problem in the same way they are for many modern people. The big shift came later, when humans moved toward agriculture. More grains, more starch, more soft carbohydrate-rich foods, more food sticking to teeth, more fuel for certain mouth bacteria. That changed the mouth environment. So when people imagine prehistoric humans with terrible teeth because they had no toothbrushes, they may be picturing the wrong problem. Many hunter-gatherers probably had less tooth decay than later farming populations, but they often had more tooth wear. In simple terms, modern teeth often rot. Prehistoric teeth often wore down. Of course, that is an oversimplification. Real mouths are messy. Different groups ate different foods. Different environments created different problems. A coastal group, a forest group, an ice age hunting group, and a plant-heavy gathering group would not all have the same teeth. But the general pattern matters. Prehistoric dental problems were not just about dirty mouths. They were about lifestyle. Rough food, grit, heavy chewing, using teeth as tools, cracks, wear, infection, and sometimes cavities too. So when we ask how prehistoric humans survived without dentists, the answer starts here. Their teeth were under constant pressure, but not from the same things that attack modern teeth. They were not fighting soda and candy. They were fighting stone dust, tough roots, hard seeds, animal hide, raw fibers, cracked enamel, and a lifetime of chewing whatever nature provided. And that leads to the next question. If their teeth were being damaged every day, did prehistoric humans do anything to clean them? Or were they simply walking around with ancient plaque and hoping for the best? So did prehistoric humans clean their teeth? The answer is probably yes, but not with a toothbrush, not with mint toothpaste, not with a bathroom sink, a little cup, and a timer telling them to brush for 2 minutes. Prehistoric mouth cleaning would have been simpler, rougher, and much more improvised. A person could rinse with water. They could rub their teeth with a finger. They could chew on tough plant fibers. They could use a small stick to scrape between teeth. They could chew the end of a twig until it became soft and brush-like. They could use anything nearby that helped remove trapped food. That may sound primitive, but the basic idea is not stupid. If food gets stuck between your teeth, you try to remove it. That reaction is probably very old. You do not need a dentist to understand that a sharp seed shell between your molars is making you miserable. You do not need toothpaste to notice that scraping or chewing something fibrous makes your mouth feel cleaner. Humans are problem solvers, and teeth create problems every day. One of the strongest clues comes from wear marks on ancient teeth. Some prehistoric teeth show grooves and scratches that may have been caused by repeated toothpicking. Not modern flossing, of course. More like using thin sticks, plant stems, bone splinters, or other small tools to clean between teeth or relieve irritation. Imagine a tiny piece of meat stuck between 2 molars. Now imagine no floss, no mirror, no metal dental pick, only a small twig and a lot of determination. That is not modern dental hygiene, but it is still dental behavior. For a prehistoric person, it could matter. Food trapped between teeth can irritate the gums. It can feed bacteria. It can make chewing uncomfortable. Removing it is useful. Chewing plants may have helped too. Many plants are fibrous. Chewing them can rub against the teeth and gums. Some twigs naturally fray at the end, becoming a rough brush. Some plant materials may also affect bacteria or inflammation, though prehistoric people would not have understood that in chemical terms. They would only know what worked. This stick makes my mouth feel better. This plant freshens the mouth. This chewing habit removes food. This scraping helps the sore place. That is enough for a behavior to continue. There is also dental calculus, or hardened plaque. Today, people usually think of dental calculus as something a hygienist scrapes off. But for archaeologists, calculus is extremely useful. It can trap tiny remains from a person's life: food particles, plant starches, proteins, bacteria, and other microscopic clues. In other words, ancient plaque became a time capsule. And that time capsule shows that prehistoric mouths were not magically clean. They had bacteria, they had food debris, they had plant material. But clean does not mean sterile. A prehistoric mouth could be full of bacteria and still not have the same problems as a modern mouth. The balance was different. The diet was different. The food texture was different. The amount of refined sugar was different. So their cleaning did not have to look like ours. Rough foods may have done some cleaning on their own. Tough fibers, hard seeds, and chewy plants could scrape the teeth during eating. That does not mean their mouths were healthy all the time, but eating itself sometimes acted like a natural abrasive. The same foods that wore teeth down could also remove some soft buildup. That is the strange trade-off. A rough diet could clean and damage at the same time. So prehistoric dental hygiene was not a neat system. It was probably a mix of habits, tools, diet, and instinct. Rinse the mouth, pick the teeth, chew a twig, rub a sore place, spit out trapped food, avoid chewing on the painful side. Repeat for an entire lifetime. And this brings us to an important point. Prehistoric humans did not need to invent dentistry to care about their mouths. They only needed pain. Pain teaches quickly. A sore gum, a cracked tooth, a trapped seed, or a swollen area in the mouth would demand attention. The person would poke it, press it, rinse it, scrape it, chew something against it, or ask someone else to look. That is the beginning of oral care. Not science, not medicine, just attention. And maybe that is how mouth cleaning started. Not because someone wanted a bright smile, but because something hurt, smelled bad, or got stuck. Modern dental care is built on tools, knowledge, and prevention. Prehistoric care was built on experience. If a stick helped, use the stick. If a plant helped, chew the plant. If rinsing helped, rinse. If scraping helped, scrape. There was no guarantee it worked perfectly. Some people still developed infections. Some lost teeth. Some lived with pain. Some teeth wore down until chewing became difficult. But prehistoric humans were not passive. They observed. They experimented. They copied what helped. They used the materials around them. And over time, those small actions became the earliest form of dental care. No toothbrush, no toothpaste, no dentist. But not nothing. Just a hand, a twig, a plant fiber, a painful tooth, and a human brain trying to make the problem a little less terrible. And sometimes that may have been enough. But cleaning the mouth is only the easy part. The harder question is what happened when something went wrong. Because eventually, something would. A tooth could crack, a gum could swell, a molar could wear down until chewing became painful. A piece of food could get trapped and irritate the same spot again and again. And sometimes, bacteria could get deep enough to create an infection. That is where prehistoric life became brutal. Because if your tooth hurt today, you might complain, take painkillers, book an appointment, and let someone with clean tools fix the problem. A prehistoric human had none of that. No dentist, no antibiotics, no sterile instruments, no anesthesia, no little paper cup of water. Just pain, instinct, experience, and whatever the group had learned from the world around them. So the first treatment was probably the most obvious one. Avoid the pain. Chew on the other side. Eat softer food if possible. Press the sore area. Rinse the mouth. Pick at whatever was stuck. Use a twig, a splinter, a small bone, or a plant stem to scrape between the teeth. This sounds simple, but it matters. Many dental problems begin as irritation. Something stuck between teeth, a swollen gum, a sharp edge on a broken tooth. If a person could reduce that irritation even a little, they might keep eating and functioning. And in prehistory, a little better could be the difference between surviving the week and falling behind. Pain relief may also have come from plants. Prehistoric humans knew plants extremely well. Not in a laboratory sense, but in a survival sense. They knew which plants could be eaten, which plants were bitter, which caused vomiting, which numbed the mouth, which helped wounds, which were dangerous, and which were useful only if you were very desperate. They learned by observation, by trial, by memory, and sometimes by watching what happened to the person who made the wrong choice. So it is very possible that prehistoric people used certain leaves, roots, bark, or resins to deal with mouth pain or swelling. They may have chewed plants directly. They may have packed plant material near a sore area. They may have used smoke, ash, or bitter substances in ways that seemed to help. They did not know about anti-inflammatory compounds. They did not know about antiseptics. They did not know what bacteria were. But they could know this. This plant makes the pain smaller. This bark makes the mouth feel numb. This resin sticks to the bad tooth. This bitter thing helps the swollen place. That is not modern dentistry, but it is still medicine in its earliest form. The real nightmare was infection. A painful tooth is bad. An infected tooth is worse. If the inside of the tooth became exposed, or if bacteria spread into the jaw, the area could swell. The person could develop fever. Chewing could become difficult. Sleep could become difficult. Even thinking could become difficult because tooth pain has a special talent for becoming the only thing in the universe. And without modern treatment, some infections could become life-threatening. This is one reason teeth are so important in archaeology. Ancient jaws can sometimes show signs of abscesses, bone changes, missing teeth, and long-term disease. These are not just medical details. They are evidence of people living with pain for weeks, months, or sometimes years. And that raises another question. Did prehistoric humans ever remove bad teeth? Probably, when they had no other choice. Not in a clean dental office, not with a metal instrument, not carefully, comfortably, or safely. But if a tooth was loose, broken, infected, or causing unbearable pain, someone might try to pull it, push it, knock it loose, or break it away. That would have been dangerous. A failed removal could make things worse. A dirty tool could introduce more infection. A broken root could stay inside the jaw. Bleeding could be hard to control, and the pain would be intense. So tooth removal was probably not the first option. It was more likely a last resort, the kind of thing people tried when the tooth had already become impossible to live with. But humans are not passive animals. If something hurts badly enough, we experiment. We poke it, we press it, we pull at it, we ask someone else to help. And prehistoric groups may have had people who were better at this than others. Not dentists, not doctors in the modern sense, but experienced people. Someone who knew plants, someone who knew wounds, someone who had seen broken teeth before, someone old enough to remember what helped and what killed people. In small groups, knowledge matters. If one person had survived a swollen jaw, or helped remove a loose tooth, or knew which plant reduced pain, that knowledge could spread. This is where care becomes social. A prehistoric person with severe tooth pain might need help. They might need softer food. They might need someone else to chew or process food for them. They might need the group to tolerate their weakness for a while. And this is important. Survival was not always about being the strongest individual. Humans survived because groups cared, shared, remembered, and helped. A person with missing teeth could still live if others helped prepare food. A person with mouth pain could still survive if the group protected them, fed them, and gave them time to recover. So, prehistoric dental survival was not only about tools, it was also about community. Of course, not everyone recovered. Some people probably died from infections that would be treatable today. Some lost teeth early. Some lived with chronic pain. Some had jaws damaged by abscesses. Some simply adapted, chewing differently, choosing different foods, and avoiding whatever caused the worst pain. That is the reality. Prehistoric humans were tough, but they were not magical. They suffered, they improvised, they used plants, they used sticks, they used experience, they used each other, and sometimes that was enough. So when we imagine prehistoric people surviving without dentists, we should not imagine perfect natural teeth and painless lives. We should imagine something much more human. A person sitting near a fire, holding their jaw. Someone offering a softer piece of food. Someone bringing a bitter plant. Someone trying to scrape out whatever is stuck. Someone old, watching carefully, remembering what happened the last time. No clinic, no science, no guarantee. Just pain, trial, memory, and the first rough steps toward dental care. So how did prehistoric humans survive without dentists? The answer is not that their teeth were perfect. They were not. Prehistoric people broke teeth. They wore them down, they got infections, they lost teeth. Some probably lived with pain for a long time, and some dental problems may have killed people when infections spread beyond the mouth. But their world created different dental problems than ours. Modern teeth often suffer from soft processed food, constant snacking, refined sugar, sweet drinks, and bacteria that get an easy food supply all day long. Prehistoric teeth face something else. Hard food, tough plants, chewy meat, grit, stone dust, seeds, roots, animal hide, and a mouth that was sometimes used like a tool. So when people imagine prehistoric humans as either having perfect natural teeth or completely ruined mouths, both images are too simple. Their teeth were strong, but not invincible. Their diet could reduce some modern problems, but it also created heavy wear. Their mouths had bacteria, plaque, and calculus, but they did not live with the same constant sugar exposure many people have today. And even without dentists, they were not doing nothing. They probably picked their teeth. They probably chewed fibrous plants. They probably used twigs, stems, water, fingers, and simple scraping. They probably learned which plants helped pain, swelling, or bad taste. They probably avoided chewing on injured teeth. And when a tooth became unbearable, they may have tried to remove it, break it loose, or live around it. None of this was safe in the modern sense. There was no clean clinic, no x-ray, no anesthesia, no antibiotics, no guarantee. But prehistoric survival was never about perfect solutions. It was about doing enough to keep going. A person with a painful tooth could still survive if the group helped. Someone could prepare softer food. Someone could share meat that was easier to chew. Someone could bring a useful plant. Someone older could remember what worked before. That is an important part of the story. Humans did not survive prehistory because every individual was tough all the time. They survived because groups carried knowledge. They watched, they copied, they remembered, they cared for the injured, and teeth show that very clearly. A worn tooth tells us about food. A scratched tooth can tell us about habits. Dental calculus can trap tiny clues about plants, microbes, and diet. A missing tooth can tell us that someone adapted. A healed jaw can suggest that someone lived long enough after injury or disease for the body to respond. Every prehistoric mouth was a record. Not a clean record, not a comfortable one, but a real one. So the story of prehistoric dental care is not the story of toothbrushes before toothbrushes. It is the story of humans noticing problems in the mouth and trying to solve them with whatever they had. A twig, a plant fiber, a stone tool, water, fire, memory, another person. That may sound small, but it is the beginning of medicine. Because medicine does not begin with hospitals. It begins when one human sees pain and tries to reduce it. It begins when someone remembers that a plant helped. It begins when someone cleans a wound, pulls out a thorn, presses a swollen place, or gives soft food to a person who cannot chew. Dentistry, in its modern form, came much later. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, fillings, drills, anesthesia, antibiotics, and professional dental care are all recent in the full timeline of human life. But the basic human response to dental pain is ancient. Something hurts. Something is stuck. Something is swollen. Something is broken. So you touch it. You scrape it. You rinse it. You chew something against it. You ask for help. And you remember what happened. That is how prehistoric humans survived without dentists. Not perfectly, not painlessly, not always successfully, but intelligently. They lived with different diets, different risks, and different kinds of damage. They cleaned their mouths in simple ways. They used plants and tools when they could. They adapted when teeth failed. And when the pain was too much, they relied on the oldest medical system humans ever had, the group. So the next time you brush your teeth in a warm bathroom, with mint toothpaste, clean water, and a dentist you can call if something goes wrong, remember this. For most of human history, your mouth was on its own. No appointment, no prescription, no repair plan. Just teeth, food, pain, and survival. And somehow, for hundreds of thousands of years, humans kept chewing.